Okay, okay, everybody. Wait for it. Wait for it. This is how you know we're in for something good.
Game creative staff.
Yes. As I've said in every single one of those games, you know when you see that Wolf Team logo? That's your seal of quality right there. I kid, because I do actually love their games. So, welcome to what is the final game, unfortunately, in the Earnest Evans trilogy. This is... There we go. It's, technically it's Annet Futatabi, which sort of means Annette again. A better way to translate it would maybe be Annette once again, or Annette returns, even though that's not literal. And yeah, it is unfortunately the final game in the trilogy, that being Earnest Evans, El Viento, and then this one. They clearly put the most effort into this one in terms of the cutscenes. They look pretty good for the most part. We even have a fully, sung theme song and everything. I do have some bad news for you, though. Unfortunately, this is also the worst game in the trilogy, in terms of gameplay. Unfortunate. It's okay, though. The just amount of craziness in the story and amount of effort they put into it makes it worth it, I think. This is almost like you're playing it more for the story than for the gameplay. Which, hey, there are plenty of games like that nowadays, right? So... But yeah, the graphics are nice, right? So if you recall, the first two games that I have covered on the channel were sort of action platformers that definitely had their issues, but they were both pretty fun. In this one, unfortunately, they decided to go the, beat 'em up route. Well, hello. Nice background there. And yes, we're playing on hard mode because... Now, about half or more of this video is probably going to be cutscenes. And as I have done in the other two series, for the other two games in the series, rather, I will be liberally referring to Rage Quitter 87's Shrine. Because it has a lot of good information, especially for stuff that I wouldn't have understood on my own. And unfortunately, like in El Viento, you do not get to play as Earnest Evans in this one. Very unfortunate. But the basic plot is essentially that the two of you are going to this castle where there's a princess and everything, and supposedly you're going there to appraise these treasures. But the voice acting, it's good, right? Graphics are good. Everything is good, except for the gameplay. Worth noting, by the way, that although you can play the other two games in English, or at least got English releases, this one was never released in the States or in Britain, as far as I know. So anyways, this is our pendant that we got from the High Priest or something, and the princess wants to see it. Yeah, what could go wrong? Smooth dodges there. So far you're probably looking at this going, this is actually really awesome. I hope the gameplay is just as good. Yeah. So here's what we got. I mean, it's not awful, per se. Also, I just like to take a moment to pay respects to this, commando-looking dude who just uppercuts his buddy. He, shoryukens him. Pretty awesome. So there are a couple problems with the gameplay. One is just the lack of variety. We're going to get a couple more enemy types, but as is the case with a lot of these 2D beat-em-ups from back in the day, there's just really a lack of enemy variety. There's also a pretty small number of actual moves that you can do, so you have a regular attack, you can grab, You can do a jumping attack and you can do a running attack, and that is more or less it, with the exception of your magic attack, which unfortunately is very underwhelming as well. You can see that blue bar in the top left that's charging up, and that is the magic attack. It basically cycles through and gets to more powerful versions of the attack. So right now it's on that version, like the 10-ton weight or whatever. And then as it charges up, it'll go to a more powerful version. However, aside from just a slightly different visual effect for each one, they don't really do anything different. It's just like, oh, this one did extra damage, so like now it's the dragon. And I hate to say it, but, well, we're gonna look at it and I'll let you judge it for yourself. The other really big problem with this game is, although it makes sense from a story perspective, yeah, there's our dragon. It's no Dungeons & Dragons beat 'em up, is it? So, it makes sense for the story, right? However, there is no co-op, so this is a single-player game. I would have definitely added on a couple points just for putting in, like, co-op where you could play as Earnest as well. But, then again, basically adding Earnest Evans as a playable character to any game would automatically make it a 10 out of 10, in my opinion. So basically what you're going to find is, I had to do quite a few practice runs to figure this one out, but each enemy has a particular way that was cheap. That's the best way of handling them, and this especially applies to the bosses. You really have to figure out a particular kind of cheap strategy for each one. So for instance, this guy, trap him in the corner, and just repeatedly jumping attack. And it seems cheap, however, if you aren't using this strategy, you're never going to actually be able to kill the boss, so yeah. And that's basically what every level boils down to. So there you have it. Level 1. But like I said, the best part about this game is the story and the cutscenes. It gets pretty bonkers later on, which is great. And what's this? So yes, it wasn't the real princess. And it was this dude, Virgilus or something like that, who imprisoned the actual princess. And aw, poor guy. Herc, I think was his name. He feels bad about it. So now we get to go to an interesting level. Otherwise, he'll kill the princess. Yes, good people of the Imperial City, welcome to the arena. Apparently the reason that he's keeping the princess hostage and everything is there's like an idol or something that she's hidden. And he's trying to use this little arena match to... I'm sorry, that guy. He looks serious. We got these Wolverine, Vega / Balrog looking enemies. There we go. And then this thing, I don't know what it is. Another thing to watch out for is you'll notice looks like I kind of wasted my magic there. It's because you cannot use your magic on the bosses, so you want to go ahead and use them up before you get there. This guy's really tall, by the way. And his outfit is strange, to say the least. But, yep, you pretty much figured out the pattern now, right? Whoops. Apparently I haven't figured out the pattern yet, though. One more. How could she defeat the blue fireball man? These giant... That looks like a grease gun crossed with an MP40, but it's like enormous. Aw, he saved us. I told you he looked like he felt bad about the whole thing, right? He says, don't worry about Earnest. Yes, we're going to be seeing Earnest fairly soon. Random yelling of the soldiers approaching. Alright, so now somehow there are these robot guys. I don't know what's going on, honestly. So you got the little ones with the flamethrower. It looks like he's just shooting gas at you, but it is actually a flamethrower. And you got these dudes with the saws. Worth noting that you don't want to touch them while they're spinning. So what you want to do is bait them into doing that attack, and then you can grab them. In fact, same thing with the little guys. You bait them into doing their fire attack, and then run past it and grab them. Ah, see what I mean? Also, they yell like people. See? Flamethrower. Told you. And don't ask me why we're in Egypt all of a sudden. Just roll with it. That looks like a good time to use the magic attack. Yeah, one of the things that was always a problem for me in a lot of these older beat-em-ups was how you would get stuck like this, where like there's an enemy way off the screen and you have to kind of wait for them to get to you. It's really a pain. Like there. It took that long for him to come over. Good thing about this level, though, is it does have my favorite boss in the entire game. But we're going to have to, again, wait for the enemies to come onto the screen before we can get to that. As far as I could tell, you don't have any sort of projectile attack, I don't think. Unless I just missed it. So it's not like you can shoot the guys from off the screen. And that's a lot of enemies, so... Woo! Woo! It is funny that it has to wait till it does that to every single enemy first. Perfect. There we go. And yeah, it's more or less just this. Fortunate, isn't it? Alright, start getting hyped for the best boss. He's not here quite yet. He baited me with that one. Okay. Here we go. Swingy Stick Man. That's all he does. Here we go. Here we go. Woo 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 woo. Woo 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 woo. I love Swingy Stick Man. He should be in more games. The best part too is if you get behind him, then he just reverses and goes the other way. Swingy Stick Man, go! Ah! And yeah, he can't even defend against basic attacks, but... Swingy Stick Man, however, is a little bit more dangerous than we give him credit for. Yeah, take that. But look at that. Yeah, Swingy Stick Man cannot be defeated. What she didn't realize was that the stick was actually more to protect his opponents rather than himself. He's just actually more dangerous without it. And hey, it's Siegfried. Remember him from the other games? Yeah, did that nice gradual shot there. Not at all creepy that he was just sitting there watching us sleep. So you may remember that Siegfried was sort of a friend, sort of an enemy from the other games. You never really know whose side he was on. Well, this one makes it very clear which side he's on. Somebody who's creating bioweapons, usually not a good guy. So that line, Annet says it's blasphemy against God, and then Siegfried asks, which god? A god like the evil god Hastur? From the other games, / from Lovecraft. Yeah. I like they're referencing their previous games. We got kind of a cool song on this one, at least, right? Somehow we're on a train. They have this entire, like, bioweapons laboratory on a train for some reason. It makes sense, really, when you get down to it. Yeah, I do actually really like this song, though. I believe, I didn't verify this, but I believe the same guy, Sakuraba Motoi, actually did the soundtrack for this game as well. I think. He did the soundtrack for the other ones. And as I mentioned in a previous video, the notable thing about him is that he later on went to do the music for the Dark Souls series, which is pretty awesome. Here we are waiting again. Here we go. You would think that maybe, like, doing this weird front flip thing would not be the most efficient way for that bioweapon to attack, but I'm no scientist. And if you thought it was weird enough having like little things of Diet Coke inside of ancient statues, that's what they used to actually create the bioweapons, apparently, because I just broke that tank and like a can of Diet Coke came out. So think about that. It's like the factory in DMC, basically, I guess. I can't remember what the soda was called in that game. But there you go, DMC ripped off the Earnest Evans series. You heard it here first. So now, unfortunately, we just sit here and wait some more. Okay. So, regarding the boss of this level as well, get used to this boss because you have to fight it multiple times. There you are. Also, Rage Quitter 87's website tells me that's the only container in the game that has no item in it. Probably an oversight. Also, her claws are fire, apparently. It's fine. For some reason, they recycle that scream a lot. Yeah, this weird green bioweapon thing that jumps around like a frog. Actually pretty tough. You just really have to get down exactly which attacks you can use. Oh, you. He also does that little hop to dodge you. Gives him iframes. Kind of like backstepping in Dark Souls 2, I guess. It's okay, as we've already established, there is a tangential connection to Dark Souls. So I'll just assume that this is set in the same universe. Ah, you. Yeah, so basically this one all comes down to just getting the timing right, and then doing that running attack over and over. Now I know what you're thinking, this probably looks a little bit boring, however, as soon as we get to the next cutscene, all will be forgiven. For a very specific reason. There we go, finally. Oh, my bad, there was one hit left. Okay. Alright, wait for it, wait for it. Yes! It's Ernest! As I've said before, one of the greatest characters in all of modern fiction. He's so cool. And I'm not joking. Earnest Evans. Awesome. And Siegfried. Oh, whoops. Forgot to get that before we left. So now we're sort of trying to figure out exactly what the heck is going on. Apparently it's somehow connected to this idol. And it's connected to that army that Siegfried was working with in the previous games. It's all a little bit confusing. And Virgilus has handed over Princess Aisha to that group. So we're going to have to go rescue her. Gosh, I'm sorry, Ernest is just so cool. Anyways, everybody, I was getting sidetracked there. That's the end of episode 1. Hope you enjoyed. It's only going to be in 2 parts, so the final will be next time. Until then.